So, in spite of my incessant emailing, unfortunately, I haven't been able to get Bernie on as a guest just yet, but Krystal, Kyle, and friends, on the other hand, they have. And they have this, the whole podcast episode, and they talk with Bernie Sanders, and it's Bernie Sanders, and I love Bernie Sanders, but this clip got posted. I just saw this like 30 minutes ago on Twitter. And ever seen Bernie squirm like this before? Now, I know what this is going to be, okay? I know what this is going to be. I'm not going to poison the well. Let's watch this, okay? I'll share my thoughts.
He is prepared to deal with. I have not seen a president in my lifetime who has done that. Am I wrong?
I see that perspective, but I also see a president who's willing to let a lot of those agenda items be killed by the filibuster and the parliamentarian.
Right. Well, but again, I don't want to defend him. I think the point you made a few minutes ago is exactly right. In this critical moment, when we're dealing with the future of the planet, when we're dealing with the future of democracy, you know what? I think majority should rule and not the. I believe that strongly. But don't think
Bernie really does sound like an ASMR king right now.
That he can snap his fingers, no matter what he may or may not believe, and make things happen. All right, there are senators.
There are certain things he could do, though, through executive, for example, canceling student debt.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. There are things he can do.
Legalizing marijuana,
yes.
he could potentially do through an executive order. And so there hasn't been a willingness, even though he says, yes, I support the $15 minimum wage. Yes, I support the PRO Act, to use all the tools that are at his disposal to actually make those things happen.
You're absolutely sure of that?
Is that fair?
No. I mean, in other words, you do not know about the discussions that he has with people who walk into his office.
Okay.
No, it's wrong to assume that when you're dealing with a United States senator who does not want to end the filibuster, that he can go in there and say, hey, I want you to do that. No. So don't give the president...
Although he could do what you proposed when you were asked on the trail.
I notice very few people are responding in chat because they're getting pulled in two directions, and they're waiting to see my impression on this before they commit to a position.
How would you deal with Senator Manchin? You said, I'd go to West Virginia. I'd do the rally.
Yeah.
I'd call him out.
Right. I mean, there are things you could do. All that I'm saying, do not minimize. I mean, and I don't want to get into personalities, but
sure,
any member of the United States Senate has the power to kill this thing. And to think that the president alone can change that is not 100% correct.
Sure, but there are executive actions that he could take on student debt and other things that he could do. We can agree on that,
I am
right?
not, yes. You know,
yeah.
Joe Biden.
And then we get the song at the end, etc. Okay, so now I'll let you know what I think so you can all form your opinion. I'm actually pretty sympathetic to Krystal Ball's position here. In spite of my many, many disagreements with her. I am. There are going to be people who use this clip, who are going to use this clip as ammunition as part of some coordinated attack on all of the most left-leaning people in our government to try to frame them as traitors. They're going to say that Bernie Sanders has cucked himself out to Joe Biden, that he's kowtowing to Joe Biden's establishment, that he's unwilling to do, et cetera, et cetera. This is a very common line with the Krystal, Jimmy Dore, that whole side of things. And I want to make it really clear from the get-go, that whole side of things is irreparably stupid. And the people who pose those sorts of arguments that, like, the Justice Dems are cucked, that Bernie is cucked, are, generally speaking, unproductive, divisive douchebags who think of political engagement as a means by which they can build their personal brand and have absolutely no political sense for what it takes to develop a movement or to build the institutional framework of genuine left-leaning populism in this country. With that being said, Bernie's pretty soft here. I've said this before. My biggest criticisms of Joe Biden, the big ones, I mean the substantive ones, are A, he could be using executive actions far more aggressively. As for the marijuana thing in particular, I mean, think of how many lives he could save. I mean, how many hundreds of thousands of people whose lives he could keep from being ruined. Like, this is an immediately important issue. Like how he scoured the people who tested positive for marijuana despite supporting it in the past, ostensibly. Stuff like that. And secondly, now, it's impossible for us to know whether Joe Biden is wheeling and dealing in the background to try to get Sinema and Joe Manchin and everything on board. And I'm sure he is a little bit. Bernie literally agreed on that. Quit getting triggered hold on. My God, I know I like Bernie too. I'm not saying I don't. Just, holy Christ. Just hold on. Now, I'm sure Joe Biden is doing some wheeling and dealing in the background. Is he doing as much as I would like him to? I can't know. I assume probably not. The thing that really bugs me, though, is that Joe Biden is nowhere near hard enough on pushing for these things in the public eye. Donald Trump was able to pull quite a few people over to his radical positions by talking about them day in and day out, the entirety of his presidency. Every time you put a microphone in front of him, he would go off on how BLM is tearing down America and the Mexicans are destroying our border and the Muslims and the China virus and this and that. Every political line that he wanted to push for, he would advocate for actively and aggressively. Joe Biden does not do that. Joe Biden does not go out there and deliver these bold, passionate speeches on the public option or on marijuana legalization or decriminalization. He doesn't go out there and talk about these issues, the infrastructure bill, everything he claims to care about, with anywhere near the vigor or the enthusiasm that Republicans can muster. And part of that is typical liberal softness, and part of that is because it's difficult to know how much he even cares about getting these ideas actually pushed. These are my big criticisms. There are others, but those are the big ones. And I think it's fair to expect Bernie to push back against that a little bit harder. Now, it is true that Bernie Sanders acknowledged Joe Biden could be doing more here, but you cannot deny he takes a very defensive tone. The question is why. Excuse me. Got my nose itchy. Ooh. The question is why. Why does Bernie Sanders come off deferential and, fairly light-handed? And there are people spoiling it in chat, but the answer is because Bernie's done. He's not running for president again, or at the very least, I'd be very surprised if he did. Bernie is Yoshi in Super Mario World, okay? When you have to jump a really big gap, you get on Yoshi and you jump, and then you jump off Yoshi, and he falls into the pit, and you make your way up, okay? But Bernie Sanders stretched his hands out and held in his hands the millions of Bernie bros, all of us, okay? And as he sank down through the primaries, he vaulted us all up so that we could go in his stead. Bernie's not in a position to lead any bold movements anymore. Or to be more specific, it doesn't seem like any antagonism he capitalizes on now will pay off in the future. It doesn't seem like there's a political road for him in the future to make use of the antagonism. Maybe more so for AOC Ilhan Omar because they have vibrant political futures ahead of them, but Bernie, less so. So he goes moderate. He doesn't take big risks because he has more to lose than to gain, and he is now committed, and I believe this, he is now committed to the idea that he should be a calm, quiet, positive, and unobjectionable representation of progressivism in the Democratic Party. This kind of makes it sound like you think he's sacrificing himself so he gives someone else room to be more aggressive. That is absolutely what his job is now. Unquestionably. The job of a politician and the job of an activist are two very different things. And activism seems to be a little bit behind him now. He's a very old guy, and he's had two presidential primaries to run through. That doesn't mean he's out of the game. It does mean he has to play things closer to the vest. Does he have to play things this close to the vest? Honestly, I don't think so. I think he might be playing it too close to the vest here. I think he could be louder. I think he could be bolder. I think that he comes off uncomfortable hearing criticisms of Joe Biden here, in some respects, which makes me uncomfortable because I like people criticizing Joe Biden. I like Joe Biden being criticized from the left. And Bernie is still, probably, the most prominent left voice in this country. So for him to be conciliatory then, is a little unfortunate. So I want to be clear about this, okay? There are extreme positions on this, and they're very, very, very smooth-brained. One extreme position is that Bernie is cucked and he's spineless. That is absolutely not true. This is a deliberate and reasoned political strategy, which, in my opinion, he's taken too far. He has always been an amicable guy, not somebody to wallow in drama. And I think at this point, while the general strategy is legitimate, the specific implementation here comes off wanting. There are also people who are going to say that we shouldn't criticize Bernie for anything and blah, blah, and blah, blah. And I think this is dumb. Don't idolize the man. He's a politician, and he's made mistakes. For example, he's a protectionist, or at least he has been in the past, which I think is cringe and blue-pilled. I was fine criticizing him for that before. I'll still do it if I want to. I'll do it for funsies. It should be okay to criticize him. Altogether, I find it a little bit harrowing because I don't really know who's going to follow up, you know? I don't know who's going to come next. AOC, Ilhan the Squad, whatever, Rashida Tlaib, they're politicians now. They're not activists. They can be aggressive politicians, but they're still limited by the confines of their job. My question is, what's going to be the next non-democratic politician left leadership in this country? There are some people who are saying it's going to be the likes of Jimmy Dore. I really hope they're wrong. There are people in chat who are saying it's going to be me, and these people are very flattering. Thank you. In reality, it's probably not going to be a YouTuber. It's probably not what's going to happen. Only time can tell. But I do hope Nina's a good shot. Nina is a good shot. But I do hope whoever it is, that they are intelligent in balancing antagonism against the Democratic Party with reasonable capitulation. Because please remember, and the people who can't acknowledge this are brain dead. Mindless, anti-democratic activism does not pull liberals over to the left. It just doesn't do it. Bernie Sanders was more successful in moving people over to the left than basically anybody, and he was remarkably even-tempered with the Democratic Party. If he had been very, very aggressive, oh, you're just a dirty establishment shill, you, and by the way, they all are, so he would have been correct if he had said that. But if he had said that, he would have ostracized and alienated. The media would have been more unfavorable towards him, and he probably would have ended up pushing away hundreds of thousands of people who, in our better timeline, came to love him. It is important, all right? It's not easy, but it's important. He never even attacked anyone other than right-wingers. He barely even attacked right-wingers. You see Bernie Sanders talk about the Republican Party? It's that he doesn't even really attack them. They are not providing for the American people. Like, it's all it's so principled, you know? It's not, he doesn't really attack them so much as scold them, you know? It's a workable strategy. This may be a little bit too conciliatory, but generally, I think it works, and it has its place. Some people should do that. Some people should be more aggressive. Diversity of tactics, etc., etc. Okay? Just whatever you do, there is a most incorrect answer to this, you know? There is there is a response to this, which is the objectively worse one, and it's this one. Jesus Christ, I wasted so much money on that man. That right there is the objectively incorrect, response to this. For so many reasons. For so many reasons. That's not what you want. It's the wrong... Shu, I'm really sorry, Shu, that's not true. Bernie Sanders' media coverage was generally positive. There were sometimes, very silly attacks on him by the media, but he was not holistically portrayed as an angry old man. His level-headedness did pay dividends in terms of how he was received by the media. What, Vosh, you're so wrong here? Guys, don't get all your news from Twitter. Okay? Yes, they treated Bernie Sanders poorly in some respects, but he also got quite a bit of positive and favorable media coverage. He did, and a lot of it was because he made himself very easy to like. Please don't get all of your understanding of how everyone was treated and so on by what Twitter articles get most liked and they appear at the top of your feed, okay? Was Bernie done dirty? Yes, he was. But was there also a significant, legitimate outpour of positive support, which probably wouldn't have happened if he was actually like a really grouchy, angry, antagonistic old guy? Yes. Sorry, but she was 100% right here. Hillary got the media to destroy him. Hillary didn't get the media to destroy him. Please do not sink to the lowest levels of regressive conspiracism, okay? The reason why Fox News and right-wingers talked about it is because they knew that Joe Biden was going to end up winning, or at least it was very likely that he was, and they wanted to poison the well against him by getting disaffected leftists to be so disgusted with the Democratic Party that they didn't vote for Joe Biden. It was a very cynical strategy that Fox News and the rest of the Republicans played. Even Trump called it out. Do you think Trump legitimately gives a fuck whether or not a socialist like Bernie Sanders wins the Democratic primary? Do you think he actually cares about the fairness of this or anything else on earth? No. He brought it up because he knew dumb fuck lefties would look at those tweets and think, wow, even Fox News knows they're being shafted. Well, I'm not going to vote for anyone then. And then Trump wins and blah, 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 okay? Please, this is like level 1, like media OPSEC shit. Like, we can't let ourselves be psyoped that hard, you know? I'm not saying Bernie didn't get treated poorly. I'm just saying that there were benefits paid to his... Oh, God. I'm gonna bait you on this. Shoot, you can look at the empirical data. If you genuinely believe that Bernie Sanders' kindness and affability didn't pay dividends in some of the attention that he got, that you're just wrong. You can look at like how he was covered, but it's like, all right, man. You won't want to debate me on it if you look up like the stuff on it. No, I don't want to even take this position because people are going to assume that the position I'm taking is that the liberals treated Bernie Sanders perfectly. Politico and CNN fucking worked together with the Hillary campaign to smear him. Yeah, there were instances where that happened, but that's not the same as Hillary got the media to destroy him, okay? And there were also media outlets and personalities which were favorable to Bernie Sanders. Or do we want to talk about how there were plenty of Hollywood politicians who were pro-Bernie Sanders? We want to say that Hollywood came out, the Hollywood institution came out in favor of Bernie? This is just rank conspiracism. We have to look at the information as it presents itself, and the fact of the matter is that Bernie Sanders' even temperament was beneficial to him. Hollywood destroyed Hillary. Well, I mean, yeah, a lot of the prominent people from there were like pretty progressive, you know? Wouldn't you say the benefits were purely because of his skill in portraying himself rather than any good hardness on the part of the media? Okay, just because people are treating you unfairly doesn't mean they can't treat you more unfairly. Like, this is like first grader logic, you know? Everyone in the playground doesn't like me, so it'll make no difference if I shit on the floor and start kicking all of them. Like, you can make it worse, you know? It's possible to worsen the situation. Was there a pre-existing bias against Bernie Sanders? Yeah, there was, for sure. There was. But could it have been made worse? Absolutely it could have. Absolutely it could have. We have to be careful. We do not have the numbers to play it fast and loose with our optics. We have to be careful, measured, and deliberate with how we present ourselves to the public. We have to appeal to the dirty liberals. Praise Allah. I mean, isn't this Michael Brooks' take? God rest his soul. Be easy on people, be hard on institutions. That's what Bernie did. He was very mean to institutions, but he was very kind to people. And I think that helped him out a lot, you know? If he was vicious, if he was like, you're a shill, I feel like the media attention would have been much worse. I'll actually confirm what you're saying is true. Apparently the Bernie campaign team said he was seen better by people when he wasn't angry. Yeah, it's just, you know, it'd be like me saying like, oh, the whole internet thinks that I'm like a debate bro, edgelord, sexist, transphobic pedophile, so I guess I might as well just fucking just go wild or what. Like, it's like, just because like the bias doesn't mean that you can't make things worse by playing into the worst elements of the bias. Trump cried about his media treatment and looked how they turned out for him. Well, it's different with people on the right because people on the right are orcs and they don't actually care about virtue, you know? Donald Trump could get media attention because he pled guilty to a statutory rape case, and it would benefit him in the polls because he would have gotten more media attention. The kinds of people who vote for Donald Trump do not seem to care I mean, they literally called themselves deplorables. I mean, Bernie lost in 16 because he didn't take his own campaign seriously at first, not because the media was mean or something. Well, no, there were elements of the media coverage back in 16 that were pretty fucked. It's possible that early on the campaign train didn't roll as hard as it should have, but look, if there's anybody who you want to be mad at, can we just be mad at Elizabeth Warren? Remember how Elizabeth Warren had zero chance to win, but she stayed in for Super Tuesday anyway, even though pre-Super Tuesday polling showed that a significant portion of her voters would have chosen Bernie as a second option? Meaning that even if Bernie Sanders wouldn't have won, he still could have come way, way, way closer in the race against Joe Biden. But instead of doing that, she did this freakish attack against him, claiming he was sexist and thought women couldn't be the president, dragging the primary debates into literal he said, she said dumbfuckery, where none of us actually believed that Bernie Sanders would ever actually do anything that's sexist, or that she must have misinterpreted what he had said in some way. Because the idea that Bernie Sanders, of all people, would have been like, oh yeah, I've been supporting progressive causes my entire life. Also, women can't be president. Okay. Yeah, he literally told her to run in 2016, and she wouldn't, so he did in her stead. Yeah, no, Bernie's been based from, like, day one. Bernie was woke back before you would have expected young people to be woke, you know? He was repping it. I mean, he was pro-trans back when the average person didn't even know what that meant.